unknown to a lot of Android users, as well as probably all of the engagement posters I've seen on Threads and Blue Sky and Mastodon, the iPhone can do a lot of things. And with the iPhone 15 introducing the action button, which was then introduced to the whole iPhone 16 line, you had easier access to do a lot of these things, whether it be running a shortcut, whether it be running a shortcut with a menu to run other shortcuts, doing translation, muting and unmuting your phone, locking screen orientation, and a plethora of other things that I don't even know off the top of my head. But one of the issues that myself and the other 1% of iPhone users out there have is that the action button only has one input method, and that's a long press, which is a little bit annoying. And at least in my pocket, I know that button is not being pressed. So I don't understand why there's not a single or double press action for the button, especially when with the single press, you can, of course, lock your iPhone, change the volume up and down, but you can even set the side button to a triple press, which in my case starts Apple Watch mirroring. But you can even set it to open up the Measure app, for example, and do a whole lot of other accessibility things. Fortunately, there's the Bang case by Bitmolab, a little retro design, which has this bang button, as they call it. And that does give you single, double, and also long press capabilities, which is, in my opinion, the fix to Apple's action button. And honestly, this is a lot more accessible than the action button up here. So let's talk about the bang case. So like I said, there's three input methods. For myself, a single press will launch my action button, or I should give it a new name. I guess it's now my bang case menu button, which lets me run a plethora of other shortcuts. The best one, in my opinion, being opening Spotlight, so that way I can access Spotlight from within any app. A double press opens the control center for myself, and then a long press will open up the notification center. I really like this setup, but of course you can set it up to do whatever you need. That could be running three different shortcuts. That could be running three different accessibility items. If you've ever set up your double tap or triple tap functions when you tap on the back of your iPhone, those accessibility options are the same as what you can set the bang button to do. In the settings app, go to Bluetooth so that you can connect to the case. If the case is not showing up in the Bluetooth list, just long press the power button and then pair when you can. After it's connected, we're going to go to accessibility settings and then touch and then assistive touch and make sure that that is on. It will temporarily turn on the menu, but we'll be able to turn that off later. Then go to devices, find the bang case, and then to register buttons, you have to tap on customize additional buttons and then press the button for each different input method. So there's the single tap. And here I'm having a bit of trouble with the double press. You got to really go for it. Still couldn't get it. There we go. In this position, it was just more difficult. And finally, the long press. And now everything's registered. As you can see, if you're not going to go with the fully custom setup through shortcuts, there are a lot of basic actions you can take advantage of. For example, launching the camera directly to the front or back camera, or even doing Apple Pay. However, if you do Apple Pay, you still have to double press the side button, so it kind of defeats the purpose. You can even have the bank button scroll the screen for you. You can have it toggle eye tracking, which is a new feature in iOS 18. I mean, it's really as customizable as you need it to be for your use case. All right, so I've had the case for just over 2 weeks now, with the first time my button press logging to chronicling being on February 9th, as you can see. And as you can also see from the graph, I've not been, the most consistent with using it. There's been a couple days there after February 17th where I didn't really use the double press action much. And if we look at the single press, I did use it every day, but as you can see, I definitely was using it a lot more often at the beginning of having the case than I did kind of from then on until now. Most of that will come down to individual use. Those of you who are faster at, relearning new methods, or if you really have a problem that really requires you, to use the button more often for whatever your use case is, whether that's productivity or creative works. Like, that's going to be on you to kind of relearn or retrain yourself to use your phone. I was still shuffling my phone down in my hand to access Control Center as well as the Notification Center. So I wasn't successful in fully retraining myself, although I was getting some use out of the button. And after 2 weeks of using it, the case is still at 79%. So this thing will definitely go for 2.5, 3 months before you have to charge it again with that stupid USB-A cable. Before we talk about setting it up in accessibility, let's talk about the design real quick as well as the build quality. So the design, as you can see, is a pretty retro look. It's very, has that retro stylish vibe. So if that's not you, it wasn't me, my style a few years ago. I used to be a single case color kind of guy, but then I kind of graduated to Cassetify's offering from Jean-Michel Basquiat, which I think is how you pronounce his name. I really liked his art, so the cases were really cool. But one of my favorite works from him, they made a case for, didn't have MagSafe, which kind of sucked. So I stuck with his black and white design, which I really liked. And now I'm here. The design itself is awesome, and it's either for you or it's not for you. Obviously, that's all subjective. But what's not subjective is build quality, which, in my opinion, for a $50 case, there's a few things that kind of make me, wonder. First up, when I'm looking at my phone on the right side, I can actually see some of the titanium frame of the iPhone, and I can't see it anywhere else, top, bottom, and left. So that's a little bit annoying. And then at the back, when you look at the back panel and then the connection point to the bumper around the phone, it's not evenly spaced, as in the gap on the left side is larger than that on the right, which is also kind of annoying to me. That may or may not bother you. I'm not going to do a drop test. I'm sure it's not going to destroy my phone. I go periodically caseless, so it doesn't even really matter to me, as I've dropped my phone without a case and it's still in perfect condition, albeit there are a few scratches. Once you've got it set up, go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of this video. Consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more videos like this. One of my upcoming videos will actually be on the automations that my iPhone runs daily, as well as some of the shortcuts I use. I talk about how I use it for some projects that I'm working on, as well as other uses that just kind of make life more convenient. And while you're down there, consider leaving a comment as to whether or not you have the case. Have you been using the action button, and what are your uses for it? I always like learning what other people are doing. That's typically how I find and tweak my own shortcuts to work better for myself. Last up, I have some suggestions to BitmoLab. One, I would like if they could take a look at their manufacturing process and maybe see if they can't step up their game a little bit. And then maybe consider making a pro version of the case. It'd be kind of cool if you could get two buttons here. What would be really awesome if they can somehow hack the iPhone to not only communicate with their case, but maybe even keep it charged. So that way you don't have to charge it with their little dongle there. And also, come on now, it's 2025, USB-A. Let's get that out of here and bring in USB-C. And finally, a request for Apple would be to just give us the input methods with the action button and maybe give it some better placement. I don't get a large phone because I think the small phone is too small for my hands. I don't give a shit about that. I get the large phone because I enjoy having a bigger screen. I watch a lot of videos on my phone. Have an hour commute on the subway, and the iPad Pro is just a little bit too large for that. 13 inches holding that on the subway with the amount of people that there are here in Shanghai. So yeah, the iPhone is going to be the way that I intake most of my content. But that doesn't mean the action button is reachable for everyone. They could have put it below the volume buttons, and I think we would have had the same outcome. And that's all I got for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until the next one, Rich Aesthetic out. Peace. Oh, you're so far away.